Welcome, friends.
Welcome, friends.
Sorry.
Welcome.
I was like, sorry if that was too loud, Megan.
It's all good.
You guys are in luck today. Today we're going to do another live action versus animation competition. Which one is better? Animated Beauty and the Beast or the live action 2017 Beauty and the Beast?
You almost said animated again.
Eh,
Okay, out of all the, I
it
was
is
like,
animation.
before we go on to like both of the animated and the live action, what was your opinions like when you first watched Beauty and the Beast, and kind of like where are your thoughts with Beauty and the Beast with all the overall princesses?
Okay, so my first memory of watching Beauty and the Beast was being terrified of the oven. Um, so in the animated one, there's like an oven who's like talking and is just like, I can't believe that I had to make all this food only for it to go to waste. And I remember not watching Beauty and the Beast because I was so scared that the oven would get me. Um, but I like Belle. I think she is one of like I feel like most early Disney princesses you could like rep like they could be like put into each other's stories and like would pretty much do the same thing. I feel like she's like one of those like if she was put into like a Sleeping Beauty story, she would not.
It would change the story entirely.
Yeah, so I really like her. She's really smart. I question some of her decisions, but that's fair.
I This movie has a special place in my heart. I don't know what specifically it is, but like as soon as like the opening comes on with like that beautiful entrance of the castle and the prologue playing, it holds a special spot in my heart and I don't know why. My earliest memory isn't even the movie itself. I used to have a bunch of like little golden books
Hmm.
and I had one of Beauty and the Beast and my dad would always read it to me. And when he got to the part of like the Beast yelling at Belle to stay out of the West Wing and everything, he would do an impression of the Beast and like be loud and everything, and it would make me laugh so hard. But I really love this movie. Belle's not my favorite princess, but this movie, like, it's up there for me. Like, it's a really great movie.
I would say for me, as I like became more of an adult, I learned to appreciate Beauty and the Beast more. As a kid, I preferred Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. That's not really a surprise to anyone. But Beauty and the Beast was kind of third, but now Beauty and the Beast has taken second place over Sleeping Beauty. And let Megan be pregnant.
I know.
Y'all, I might give birth soon. Um,
Yeah, because you're 32 weeks right now. By the time this releases, you'll be 35, 36 weeks roughly.
so this might be one of my last episodes for a while.
Oh,
That's,
I didn't even think about that.
I know. Are we gonna have to start inviting Steven over more?
No, we don't need the guy from
Applebee's.
Applebee's.
Okay. Anyways, continuing on. Um, yeah, when I like watched this movie as a kid, um, I never really cared for the Beast as a child, but I loved Belle. You know, she was very pretty. And I mean, I still have the same thought today. Uh, I prefer the Beast looking like a beast. The
Everyone does.
human Beast, he's not a handsome prince.
I This is something I loved about the live action because they knew this after the animated one released and everyone thought that the beast in his human form didn't look right. And in the live action movie, Belle looks at the prince and they're like dancing and goes, "How would you feel about growing a beard?"
And then
Like,
the prince growls.
you need more hair.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Uh,
Live action Beast looks like his human counterpart looks better than
Animated.
animated. Um except for in the beginning of the movie when he's like dressed up. I'm pretty sure that's a different actor.
I'm confident it is. There's no way that's the same person.
Okay, I hated that in the live action. Okay.
I have to say I wasn't a fan of the prologue in the live action.
I liked the one of I liked the prologue of the Enchantress, but not of the freaking party.
It's one of the I liked it can it there's no way it beats the animated one. Like it was so timeless the way that whole prologue went. Like you came in with the stunning, beautiful view of the castle and the forest and the waterfall
And the stained glass visuals.
and like the stained glass storytelling. That was like
Peak.
perfect and everything. And then you have the live action, which went a little too heavy on the computer graphics, in my opinion. And like the imagery was like there, but like it wasn't as timeless, you know?
I think the other problem with it is the live action Beauty and the Beast is trying to answer questions like what happened to Belle's mom? And like how could a whole village like exist next to this castle and like not know what's happening? And like answer the question of like why the Enchantress would like curse this random prince for not accepting a rose or whatever, right? And so I think that their biggest downfall was trying to they over explained it. And so they made the prince like this really gross character to begin with. So we're like rooting against him more. Because in the animated one, you're just like, yeah, bro, I wouldn't invite a random lady into my house either.
Mm-hmm. But like I do have to say out of all the live actions, the Beauty and the Beast live action is probably Disney's best live action,
I disagree.
or at least one of.
Okay, so it's like one of like the lukewarm ones.
I mean, we know Cinderella is probably their best.
Hmm.
That's an easy story to top off, in all honesty.
And Lady and the Tramp wasn't that bad.
Lady and the Tramp was not that bad. If you didn't check out our last live action versus animation comparison, check it out. We did it on the live action versus animation Lady and the Tramp, which was interesting. I think we liked the live action better on that one.
See, I really liked the live action Beauty and the Beast.
I do too. I really do like it a lot.
For me, it's the music though.
You see, for me, it's like I like both of them, but for different reasons. Oh, yeah, so I'm supposed to like elaborate. Okay. I like the animated like pacing more. Like, I don't know. Disney went darker with the live action versions. We can all agree that. The animated one is more fun to watch. Like Gaston gets like thrown into a mud pit at one point.
That is true.
And like, I don't know, like
Okay.
LeFou in the live action is so much better than in the animated one. Maybe it's just my Josh Gad biases coming out though.
Unpopular opinion, but or maybe not an opinion that like anyone ever really thinks about, but I think about it every time I watch Beauty and the Beast, even as a child. Belle going out and singing in like the green made me think of like Sound of Music.
It's
Yes.
so good. Yes.
My dad, when I showed my dad the live action Beauty and the Beast, he goes, "They ripped that off of Sound of Music."
Okay, let me see when Sound of
Oh, it was way before.
Way.
It like came out like a year after Mary Poppins did.
Okay. I was like, because every time I watch Beauty and the Beast, when Belle starts singing,
I want
the-
adventure in the great wide somewhere.
yeah, I just
that
think
song.
of Sound of Music and I'm just like, wow, Sound of Music right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's no problem with that.
Less children though.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's lots of different movies that will pull similar imagery from others. Like you'll actually see some comparisons from like older Disney movies of like, you know, that meme that was like, oh yeah, you can copy my homework but change it so it's a little bit different or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you'll see that in like I think there was one where it was like like a cell from Winnie the Pooh and another cell from Jungle Book.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know
They were
exactly what
like
you're talking
the
about.
same animations, but done differently and everything.
Yeah, it was like Christopher Robin and Mowgli doing like the same actions, and the reason was like to cut down on production costs because they already had, I can't remember which one comes first, but like they already had that and they needed like a very similar scene of like the other character doing it.
Yeah. Um,
I was trying to see because I've only watched The Sound of Music like twice.
Oh.
oh, we watched it a couple times.
I was trying to see if it was a Disney movie.
Technically, it is now.
It is now. When it was created, it was not.
Nope.
I
Okay.
think it was created by Fox. Don't quote me.
I should have just asked you guys that.
You should know better. This is why we have this podcast.
I've only watched The Sound of Music twice, and the two times I watched it was because it was the only VHS tape that my friend had. So as a child, I lived in Oregon, and one of my friends, she was Korean. Her mom owned this jewelry and watch repair shop downtown in Portland. And in the very back of the store was a place where she'd have her daughter, and I happened to be hanging out with her that day, actually a few times. But there's a TV, The Sound of Music, and a lot of toys.
I want to run a theory by you, Jonah. Megan, now you've heard me bring up this theory before.
But
Okay.
hey, that's just a theory, a film theory. Take it away, Sean.
So you guys know the mirror.
Yes.
How familiar are you with how Disney marks their Disney villains in the old movies?
Are you going to say that this is the mirror to Snow White?
No.
No.
Okay.
You know how Disney in a lot of their movies codes their villains with that distinct green color?
Yes.
Well, if I were to tell you that Beauty and the Beast have multiple villains at different points in the movie, marked by the mirror. Because when you see whenever that mirror gets used, that green is what is used to show that it's like working or whatever. But the villain of the movie changes from whoever has the mirror. Because at first the Enchantress obviously had it because she gave it to the Beast. And she's the one who turned into a beast in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay attention to like the details given in the movie, the prince is basically made to be about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So she turned a 10-year-old into a hideous monster for not wanting to let a random woman into his house.
Also, can we just talk about how that would be the worst puberty ever?
It would.
Like your voice drops, you have other things that, are happening when you're a male. And also on top of that, you're a hideous beast.
And you have no women around except for the mama teapot.
That's not true. There's that feather duster.
This doesn't help, but
Gosh
then-
dang it.
but-
I
but-
forgot to
but-
bring it again.
but now
Oh, so when we were supposed to record yesterday, I was gonna bring Cogsworth and Lemire, my Lego set. I forgot to. Anyways.
so the Enchantress then gives the mirror to the Beast. And as we saw in the beginning of the movie, the Beast was an awful person. Very much so could have argued been a villain at that time because he was the at most harm to Belle and her father. Gaston wasn't harm at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was just an arrogant brat.
He was just an arrogant brat, exactly. Next person to get the mirror, Belle. Belle gets the mirror, and what does she do with it? She basically sentences the Beast to death. She reveals the
accident.
Beast to Gaston.
I mean, yeah, that wasn't her intention, but like
She was trying to
yeah.
protect her father, yes. But
like-
she basically was the reason that angry mob happened.
Yeah.
They were all like, he's a lunatic, whatever. And then, oh yeah, see, there's the Beast with the mirror. And now the mob is after the Beast. And she's locked up. And then Gaston gets the mirror and is trademarked to be the villain. That's going to kill Beast.
I think you could take it more as because I mean, obviously, with the Disney villainous games, Gaston is the one made to be the
Obviously,
villain.
Gaston is the main villain.
Yes. But in resemblance, we could take it as the mirror as an individual item is not an item really meant for good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's like because Belle, she did have good intent with it, but
So did Gaston.
I
I'm just challenging you on this one.
no, I have something else I want to add to this theory because in the live action, there's this scene that really doesn't need to happen, but does anyway, where like I don't remember where they are, but the beast is like, "Oh, this globe will take you anywhere in the world."
Oh, the book that
Okay.
the Enchantress.
Yeah. And so I was watching someone, I think it was like the Super Carlin brothers or something. And they were like, how rude is it to be like, yes, I'm gonna curse you, so like you're a beast, but like I'm gonna give you a book that will like transport you. You can't actually like go there, interact with people. But like you can like go see the world, but you can't leave your castle.
Well, that's exactly what Beast's point is. It goes, it's their cruelest trick of all because there's no place in the world for a beast.
Yeah, I just think that a mirror like the mirror, not just like any mirror, is also like a cruel trick played by the Enchantress. Because like yeah, you can look upon like whoever you want, but whenever we see someone looking, it's always in a like a negative perspective, right?
Mm.
Belle misses her father, so she's like looking at him in the mirror. Um, Belle is trying to prove that like the beast exists, so that way her father isn't like thrown into like the insane asylum.
Yeah.
I think this kind of shows more the character of the Enchantress.
Yeah, the Enchantress sucks.
Yep.
I like, and of course, like if we look into like more of the Grimm stories, uh, typically people who are like the Enchantress or creatures like that are typically like nymphs and very, they can be very persuading. And creatures like that don't always have like the best intentions, but they have a lesson that they want to teach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's one of the reasons why don't like that in the live action movie. We got to see more of the Enchantress. I don't like it.
Yeah, Agatha, Agnes,
Agatha, yeah.
Agatha. But it has
Because
an E at the end and it always bothers me.
you see at the end, like Belle in the animation says "I love you" and stuff right before the last petal falls and stuff, and all things happen. In the live action, Agatha ends up being
The one who,
there
yeah.
and like basically reverses death itself.
The live action, you also see her during like the whole fight and everything run into the castle.
Walk, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then we also see her around the village because like
Mhm.
she's
And-
like the one who wasn't wed, according to Gaston, and so she's just like a beggar woman. And we see her rescue Maurice, which I mean, yay! I like Maurice, but it just is it feels really weird.
Mhm.
Like, what was her character motivation there?
It's weird because it's like
I think this really ties into though that mythical background, you know, that we always hear of like what a nymph or like what mythical creatures are, and they're typically always in the background. They're always typically like in the shadows watching
mhm.
and persuading in one way or another.
Yeah, they're always like conniving. They're always up to something.
Yeah, and so because if you do a lot of Greek mythology reading, a lot of these creatures they hide in the backgrounds and they do little tricks or things, you know, to acknowledge what is going on to teach that lesson. And so I think they're really, and of course this was mentioned earlier about the dark humor, or not dark humor, but the darkness, similar to Snow White, but they really did bring that in, and I think having her kind of as that um, hidden figure lurking around ties into adding the darkness and adding more realism to what like
I just
the
don't
story is.
I just don't like that they basically got her to a point of reversing death and stuff like that. Beast died.
And like,
And technically so did all of the characters that were turned into objects.
I was gonna say the cutlery.
And like they were all basically dead. And she reversed it.
Also, this is something I want to kind of weirdly point out. In the animated movie, Mrs. Potts has multiple teacups,
Thank goodness someone brought it up.
multiple children. In the live action, she has one.
Well, let's also talk about how in the animated, she never acknowledges the other.
Gosh dang it.
Hold on. Da-na-na-na,
Get a dance break.
da-na-na-na.
Dance break. Woo! Okay, we're good.
But she never acknowledges her other children in like the animated movie. Like we see her like put like her kids away to bed in the cupboard, but that's it.
Mm, But like, don't get me wrong though. I like that they added more details to live action. Like we saw Mr. Potts. He came back after the curse was lifted.
But in the animated, it seemed like Mrs. Potts was falling in love with Belle's dad.
There was only one little scene of them together.
Just like there was one little scene with you know, Josh Gad being gay, but it's fine.
Oh my, there was multiple. Jo- Josh Gad being LeFou and having LeFou in the live action technically be gay, that made me, I loved it so
So
much.
much.
Only thing
I wish there was more of it, to be honest.
problem with that is that when this movie released and that was being talked about, a lot of people from the LGBT community got really upset over LeFou being marked as the gay character because LeFou literally means
The
the fool. And so they thought it was more of an implicit bias.
This is also something I kind of want to point out. So, in the animated, LeFou is definitely dumb.
Oh
He's
yeah.
definitely dumb. He's definitely not falling for Gaston. And he's overall just a very big, like, true sidekick to Gaston.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's more of like a goofball
Yeah.
than anything else.
An
And in the
actual-
live action, he's not as much. He's actually a bit more intelligent. And
but not literate.
My favorite part of like the entire like interactions between Gaston and LeFou is at the very beginning, where Gaston is talking about like how
Je
Belle
ne sais
has
quoi.
this like I don't know different quality, and LeFou's like the je ne sais quoi, and then Gaston goes, I don't know what it means, which
Mhm.
I think is like which proves Jonel's point of like he is smart and also illiterate, but like smart in other ways.
Yeah, and
And he knows how to calm Gaston, which I think is very cute.
I think having the thing about the live action was that a lot of character portrayals changed. Like the character's name is LeFou. If he was anything else, it would have people would have been pissed about this movie if LeFou's name was not LeFou.
Yeah.
But also they changed like a lot of characters. Like you said, LeFou was a lot smarter in the live action. Gaston was less of an arrogant bonehead. Like Gaston in the animated had a lot more arrogance, huge sense of pride. But like our first interaction between Gaston and Belle, unlike the animated, where it's about her reading books and him basically like,
six strapping boys.
well, in the animated, she was like, you need to get your head out of the books, whatever. No, their first interaction in the live action was, here's some flowers. May I join you for dinner? Like that's a huge respectful gesture. Like I would have wanted to do something of similar nature if I were to ask you up for the same thing. That's like respectful, kind. Like it was very much like yeah, he wanted the prettiest girl in town, but he didn't have that arrogance that the animated Gaston had, which I kind of appreciated because it showed more depth to his character and how he changed over the
Oh
course
my
of the movie.
gosh. Actually, I'm so glad you brought this up because when we were watching the two different versions, we watched them like not back to back, but like we
Oh, I
watched
watched them back to back.
we watched one of them
One
on
night
and
then the other one
one,
the
like
next.
yeah. They switched up Beast and Gaston. Like so in like the excuse me, in the animated one, the Beast was like, you can go anywhere in the castle, just not the West Wing, and was like more like I don't want to say tender-hearted, but was more lenient with Belle. Whereas in the live action, he from the start was like villainized, and he was like, you may not leave this like cell, and it's the staff who are like, no, you can go anywhere in the castle besides the West Wing, and Gaston was the one who like at the beginning was like rash and gross from the beginning. And in the live action, he's more, I don't want to say kinder, but he has,
He is kinder though.
I was gonna say his arrogance isn't played up as much.
Yeah, well, and that's what I mean. Like again, the first interaction is them like him giving her flowers and asking if he can join for dinner? And he goes, and she's like, no. He goes, are you busy? And he goes, no. And that's it. He doesn't like force his way into like in the animated
hmm
and everything. And like
He doesn't have a wedding plan, party planned.
literally,
That scene in the animated one is one of my favorites.
but I really like some of the character changes they did in the live action film. Like Belle in the animated, don't get me wrong, I will give her credit for being brave, taking her father's place. I will give her credit for being a bookworm and everything. But I feel like Emma Watson's Belle, which one Emma Watson was a fantastic choice for Belle.
I
Um,
disagree.
I absolutely loved Emma Watson.
Okay, I have
hold
I have my thing.
let me finish my sentence.
Yeah.
But the Belle that in the live action, you saw her striving to be that fearless person. Like, tell me about mom. She was fearless. I'm gonna be that fearless. Like you saw her pushing herself and being willing to stand up way earlier on. Belle had this sweetness in the animated, don't get me wrong. And part of that, it's an animated cartoon movie. You're not gonna be as harsh in it. But
Or like Disney movies
I
aren't as harsh.
but I liked how stern she much more was towards Gaston and towards Beast.
Mm.
You know,
Mhm.
like you saw her striving for that and pushing that, and you could see the context for it. The animated Bill just didn't show that variance of like her pushing herself beyond that. Like that moment with her and her dad when they're locked up. She goes, "It's dangerous," and she goes, "Yes, it is." Like you can see her pushing, and I really liked that about her.
Okay, let's bring up live action Emma Watson as Belle. So, listen, I think Emma Watson is a great actress. I'm just gonna put it out on the table. Love her as an actress. And I don't mind her as Belle if Beauty and the Beast was not a musical. I wish that they had a better singer brought on for like, that reason alone.
I didn't have any issues with her singing.
And neither did I.
I
And
do.
Okay, this is one thing that I always heard though, is people had issues with Emma Watson singing.
they're
What
push
was the issue?
the pushing is on auto tune, and
Like all singers use autotune. It's just like a matter of like how much of it. Like their original voice is changed. And I don't know, for me, like I just don't feel like how do I best describe this? Emma Watson's Belle is a lot stronger of a character, so I was hoping for a stronger vocal performance from her. And I think that's why the Beast is a better singer in this movie because he just is he is a stronger singer, period.
you saying that makes me gives me one perspective about something they changed in the live action movie, and it's that I feel like the animated movie put all of its focus on Belle because she's the princess, whereas the live action gave more attention to everyone else.
Mhm.
See, I don't know. I was just gonna say I love Evermore.
I remember
Well, but like,
you listening to Evermore a
but
lot.
if you look at it though, the only song Belle sings is her reprisal of Belle. She doesn't sing anymore except in Something There. And stuff
She
like
has like,
those are the only songs she sings.
yeah.
Because she sings a little bit in Days in the Sun, but the majority of that is all on the rest of the cast that live in the castle.
Mrs. Potts was singing Beauty and the Beast.
Evermore, Gaston, all of the focus they got way more attention on the other characters than Belle.
Evermore was by the Beast,
Yeah.
not Gaston.
The song Gaston.
Oh,
Which was sung by the one and only Josh Gad, which thank goodness.
But I loved the music in it. I want another thing I hated. Wait, no, you can go.
okay. I was like, this skipped my head, and then it came right back. And I'm like, before it skips my head again. Okay, the dad.
Maurice.
I have mixed feelings.
Animated, inventor, live action, artist.
Still inventor. You saw him working on that whole
But Belle was like more of like an innovator, more like in terms of like in the live action, Belle was an innovator when it came to doing the laundry. She was just like, oh, I could see the horse could do the laundry, so I can read the books. Where in the live action, the dad was just like a chopping wood machine.
I think.
Yeah.
Hold on. Reverse those two. Jonelle described them in the reverse order. But yes, exactly.
Well, no, I have an issue. I missed the old like the animated Maurice because like that scene where he crawls down and goes, "My daughter, odd." Like it's meant to be goofy because like you can see like he's funny, goofy, and it's like ironic that you're saying it, you know. And then this, he goes, like, "My daughter, odd," and he's like all sophisticated and stuff. It makes it to where the issues regarding him being deemed mad make a little bit less sense with the live action because you can tell in the beginning he's more respectable, much more knowledgeable, much more calm, focused.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the animated, he was a goofball and stuff. Not that there's anything bad with that. I'm a goofball and stuff, but it made it to where them thinking he was mad, I could understand them pushing that narrative onto Maurice versus him as like, okay, he came back after being captain. He's a respectable dude. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't know. I prefer live action Maurice, and it's for a very selfish reason. I think it's more grounded to reality, like an actual conversation that like a child would have with their parent. Um, and I don't know, that hits closer to home. Like live action is like goofy and like
Animated is like goofy.
See, I
yeah.
think I prefer live action Maurice just for the fact of the town and what he has to provide to the economy. For the fact that he's actually creating like clocks, trinkets, musical devices that someone could decorate their house with.
Your business major's going.
Yes. Yes, it is. Anyways, but if someone had spare income, and they wanted something delicate to decorate their table with something, he has something that economy wants.
Well, and I definitely get that.
He is providing a need and he is creating income. He's probably charging very highly on those needs. Sorry, big business major coming through. But he has a special, unique thing that no one else in that town has. And that is he can provide art. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you don't like my yelling.
But like, I think something I hate that changed very big story wise with them changing Maurice's character and everything was how they broke out. Like, don't get me wrong, I like that tender moment with Belle and Maurice in the live action where they're like, yes, it is gonna be dangerous and stuff. And like she knew what he needed and stuff for him to pick the lock and stuff. But I also do love the scene where it's like chips stowed away. It is like, Belle, why'd you run away? Don't you love us? And
Yeah.
like the machine coming and chip like that's hilarious.
I also kind of wish, like when Belle did go back to the town, Chip did kind of sneak away because I like that in the animated.
Agreed.
It's adorable. And I mean, it's, kids do that. They, when they find someone that they really love,
Follow them.
yeah, they do.
There's this really cute story. So I have a younger brother, and we had some neighbors that were older men, older boys. They were like in high school or whatever. And so whenever my brother had like free time, he would go over and like knock on their door and be like, "Hi, I'm just here to hang out." And so they'd be like, "Well, I'm going to go to the grocery store." And my brother was like, "I want to come too." So he like literally became like their shadow.
Oh my god. That's so cute. Especially for your brother.
I know, right?
But like, I don't know. Like, I love things from like I like like the live action movie and some of the a lot of the stuff they changed. It just sucks looking at the old like what it was being based off of with the animated and seeing what they changed. It's like, oh, but I really liked that. Like I like the new one, but also I really like the Chip riding the wood chopping machine and be like, dude, you
I
gotta try this.
I miss the humor of the animated. I think that the story for like the live action is slightly better. And I say slightly because I feel like there are some things that they added, like we really didn't need to know why Belle's mom died. It was fun to
I
speculate.
think you're the only one I've ever heard of have an issue with the added on details about Belle's mom.
It doesn't need to happen for the story to like continue its pacing.
You're not wrong. But I think it's important because we've had a lot of talks about live action movies. And it would be terrible if it were to be a copy and paste, but live action. Like it's important for live action movies to change stuff like we saw in Lady and the Tramp. Like there were scenery changes, music changes. They restructured the story as a whole and they made it better in the live action. In this one, you have to change stuff if you want it to be live action. You can't change too much. Like the live action movie, it was about 36 minutes longer than the animated.
Sorry, I just went a little off topic in my head. Um, I hate the dresser in the live action.
Yes.
I think it looks cool. I think it's confusing on a character level. Like if it was a set piece, like these dead flowers, it would be fine. But I agree. I can't.
I think part of the problem is it doesn't make sense, you know? I mean, I guess it kind of does because you see like the other characters more or less get turned into something that kind of makes sense for their character, you know, like the piano player turned into a piano.
Like the head chef got turned into like this.
Just so
Yeah.
And she was the singer at the party, so like
it's the singer with the giant dresses. Which is why I'm like, it makes a tiny bit of sense when you're like, okay, the wardrobe, that makes sense, but she was a singer. You know, if she was like an actual like stylish dresser type of person, then it would make more sense character wise. But she was the singer.
Actually, I think I do have a problem with their character designs
Yeah.
as like their live action counterparts. I remember the first time I watched this movie in like theaters, I think. I I couldn't figure out where Lumiere's face was. I was like, where's his eyeballs? And like the same with like Cogsworth. It took me a while to be like, oh. And Chip and Mrs. Potts, I like
Mrs. Potts, it took me a while.
right, they are also I know they're all based off of like antique things from like the specific time, like I think it's like the Baroque period or whatever.
I was just gonna say the Baroque.
If it's not Baroque, you don't fix it.
But I wish that they were a little bit more cartoony in the way that they were like a little bit more prominent featured. Like I could see their faces more. I could like because when Lumiere turns back into like the candlestick at the end of the movie, I'm like, there's no difference to me.
The coat hanger thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could not even tell at all.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be a person.
Well, and like branching off of that, like I at least appreciated when they turned back into humans, how remnants of what they were turned into kind of stuck for a moment. Like the dog's tail was like all bound up like it was part of furniture. Cogsworth's mustache was like all funky, Lumiere, like yeah, was smoking on top.
Lumette's dress was
Plumette,
Was
yes.
floofy,
yeah.
stuff like that. Like I loved
Well, it was
those.
feathery.
Yeah. But like I loved like those details. Or like the beast with his little growl.
Oh my
stuff.
gosh. Plumette. Let's talk about her for a second. She looks like they are all antiques, right? So like she must be the hardest feather duster to use ever. She has like that beak at the end because she's a bird. Like she would be so uncomfortable to use.
You say that, but I know another Disney character with a bird beak as an umbrella handle.
Yes, but there's like the head and then there's like a whole like there's more to the umbrella.
Fair. I should show you Voldemort's wand.
I was like, in terms of like actually house cleaning, like that would be annoying because you're either gonna have to deal with feeling the beak over here or into your wrist. And if you're working for hours on end, like it's a difference when you're in the rain and you can like you're just holding it up. It's in one bright position, you're there. But when you're, oh, gosh dang it.
Don't worry, the lights.
Uh,
Anyway, continue.
continuing thought, but like when you are like actually trying to reach on shelves and like say you used one side of the duster too much, then you have to like force the beak into like maybe your skin and like you're still dusting things, you're moving your arms around, that's going to get irritating really quick,
Yeah.
which is why there's now, okay, not sponsored in any way, but the swifter, the quicker picker upper,
It's true.
where you could easily change. Oh my gosh, I sound like a marketer right now. Where you can change the head to an angle to pick up the dust without having to really reach around and do things.
Not Spawn.
We are not sponsored by Swifter at all.
Other thing I don't like about this movie, the live action movie.
Belle's dress.
No, I actually love Belle's
Oh.
dress.
Hold up. Oh, wait, finish your thought and then I'll go on about
I
Belle's
was gonna
dress.
say what the hell they did to the characters at the end of the movie before the transformation.
Like how
They all basically died, and you have those scenes of like Cogsworth saying goodbye to Lumiere, Mrs. Potts' last words, as far as we can tell, were "Where's my son?" followed with Chip falling down, barely being caught by the coat hanger. This hurt my soul when I saw it in theaters for
Oh
the
my
first
gosh,
time.
I cried.
It's mean.
Actually, rewatching it, I remembered the scene coming up, so I was like playing like Candy Crush or something on my phone, and I was like, I can't. It's too close to home, my guy.
Like me and my best friend had so much respect for that coat hanger for making sure his last thing was to catch Chip,
I wish
because that would have broken everyone if something happened to that
quite
little cup.
literally would have broken their hearts.
Yeah, like the world would have been devastated and this movie would not have done well. People would have been pissed.
Well, I mean, we've okay. I just need to go on to the dress. We'll continue that. We'll circle back around. Anyways, the dress that Emma Watson wears in this one, in the live action, looks very similar to the, like in style wise, to the purple dress that she wears in Harry Potter.
Pink dress?
Yeah,
It's
pink,
like the
it's a pink
purple.
dress.
I thought it was like purple pink.
It's a pink dress. It's a
Okay.
pink dress.
I know because there's a meme, make it blue, make it pink on Tumblr.
But
Anyways,
I disagree.
well, it has kind of like that similar shape. Anyways, I just wanted to point out it looks really good on her.
I loved the dress. I don't know what your problems are with the dress. I think it looks really, really good. And I also love that we actually got to see more about the dress being made too.
I think the dress is okay. I know that a lot of seamstresses, and people who make clothing don't like the dress. I just thought I'd bring it up.
That's fair. I think it looks pretty and does well for what it was trying to do.
I do kind of wish it was more of like the animated one, though, to kind of bring more of that.
Yeah, I think we're now hitting a point where I'm really like, we haven't talked a lot about it. The CGI everywhere in that castle, to me, is a little bit of a problem to me.
Okay, so like I understand on one hand because in the animated they Cogsworth talked about how they were in the Baroque period, and Baroque basically means like overdone pearl, or like, so everything is like super 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 detailed, over to the point where it's like too much. That was like the style of the Baroque period. So everything kind of had to. And things of the Baroque period are so expensive because of that. And so, like, does it surprise me that Disney animators were like, or like Disney as a company was like, I don't want to spend so much money on making these super intricate sets?
Yeah.
Like, yes. But like, also, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
I wish that they had some places that were set designed, or at least they could build off of that set. Does that make sense? Like having like this and then like animating on top of it.
Well, and a huge important thing to me is going back music wise, because again, I was a music major. Absolutely love film music and how it relates to everything going on. The transformation scene was the biggest is the one of the biggest scenes in the movie. You know, you look at the animated movie, there's lights going, the winds and bells phase, the whole transforming of Beast
His
into
glowing toes.
the glowing toes, glowing hands. The soundtrack's doing all the work. You're just watching it happen, but that soundtrack is going amazing. And that was less powerful in the live action. Like the effects weren't as there. Like, yeah, you had some like magical swirlies with the rose petals and stuff and him turning back, which I appreciate they didn't do the glowing toes and glowing fingers in the live action. That would have looked really weird. And
Mhm.
like the beast transformation was fine, but they were missing so much more of the powerful effects with how powerful the music is behind it. Like it's huge. Like seeing that all that giant transformation in the castle, the only cool part about the rest of the transformation was seeing that one like gargoyle turn into like the knight on
Mhm.
top of like the spire. That was like the coolest part. But beyond that, it's like you have something so powerful musically, and you're not matching that on the other end for the hopes of live action and stuff. But you could make it way better. We all know it could be done. Look at what they did with the beast transformation, but then they didn't match that to the rest of the castle or the rest of the characters being transformed. Like it was all cut and paste. Like you've switched scenes to now they're human. You never actually saw them had a chance to transform, which granted would have looked weird. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean.
I
It's
I mean, yeah, I do get it. I don't know. When I also think of like the transformations, um, I think more of like the live action or not the live action, the animated. Gosh, I am so sorry, people. Animated. I really liked watching that you got to see the last petal fall, and before it touches, like Belle says, I love you. And then you see the whole rose come back together.
well that and like the little bits of like you can hear the music starting to drum up. You know, you see the one shot. You don't know what's about to happen, and that's why another reason why it bothers me that the Enchantress is there because she makes it happen. It's like she said it. The last petal fell. Does it count? Does it count? Like like this, despite what we know is going to happen, it's an animated movie. It's going to end on a happy note. Like that anticipation's still there. It's like, is it going to work? And then you start seeing small stuff happen, and then it kicks into full gear. And then they kiss, and more stuff happens. And there's fireworks, and like again, the music and overall, it was so much more powerful in the animated rather than the live action. And that's something I really missed being someone that loves film music and how music can support the story. It lost so much power without that huge moment like that existed.
See, the live action pulled. I'm sorry, Megan.
I have a hot take. Like a
Oh,
really hot take.
is it going to offend me?
Uh,
Possibly.
okay, so we've been talking about the live action Beauty and the Beast and then the animated Beauty and the Beast. I actually prefer neither of their transitions of the Beast. I think the best version is actually done in Tokyo Disneyland.
Okay. Okay.
Because in Tokyo Disneyland, they have a dark ride, right? Where if you haven't been to a Disney park, they have like these dark rides that are basically like retellings loosely of like the the stories, right? And so they have this really cool transformation of beast into human, but I think with
With
animatronics,
animatronics.
with animatronics and like special effects. And I think that it pulls it off so much better than the live action version where they had special effects. like special effects.
Two different worlds, two different mediums. I don't think they even need to compete with each other.
I just think
Well, don't get me wrong, it is top tier, remarkably well done for a dark ride.
I just think it I think it's just done better than the live action version.
Mhm.
I totally forgot what I was going to say before you started talking, but there is another point that I wanted to go over. Gaston dying.
I feel like I don't know in the I was gonna say in the movie because they both aren't movies. Obviously.
Also gonna trigger some of you guys, maybe. The Core 150 lecture.
Okay, for those of you who have not been to Whitworth, there's these three classes and everyone needs to take called the core classes. And so 150 is usually the one for freshmen,
Unless you're a transfer, you only need to take one.
which to you transfers, you are so effing lucky. Okay, continue.
Very lucky. Anyways,
What does Core 150 have to do with this?
they used the live action of Gaston's death to make a point in Core 150.
It made me so angry.
Yes, it was really dumb.
Okay, no, Gaston's death.
Okay, so
Anyways, I like Gaston's death in the live action more.
I feel like it's more deserved in the live action one.
Exactly, that's why I like it.
You two elaborate more before I respond.
Like, I know that in the animated one, he's more of a jerk, more arrogant, and more, I don't know, like someone I would want to avoid in my real life.
An arrogant, sexist asshole.
Yes, that quote, that exactly. But I feel like in the live action one,
He's pretty ruthless in a sense of like even though he is a bit like well, he is self-centered. What am I
but
saying?
like he's less like showy off of it in the live
Yeah.
action. Like you can tell he still is because he has that scene with like the mirror and he's like, I'm the best person. I'm the prettiest person in the village, you know? But like he's not like going around and being like, I am the best person in this village like he is in the like
But he's
animated.
pretty ruthless in the live action
Like
in
trying to
turn.
kill.
Yeah. Like for him, like if he was to be married to Belle, it would be an abusive relationship
Mm-hmm.
because even though he wants Belle for her beauty, he doesn't want her for her. Yes, he may do nice things, but that's gaslighting. That is gaslighting at its core.
Gaslighting, that isn't inherently gaslighting, that's manipulating. Gaslighting would be doing something bad and telling Belle, I didn't do that. You're making that up.
Yeah, but they use things,
That's manipulating.
they also use those while they are gaslighting because then the woman can be like, oh, but they gave me this when they told me
Or
this.
or the person. Anyone can be gaslit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so gaslighting's normally like in addition to
Like other things.
yeah. And so like just seeing how that relationship was going to work out, it would not work out.
Obviously, it wouldn't. And I agree that he's more ruthless, especially on like the front of trying to kill, like leave Maurice for death and everything. But there's other aspects of it that they changed around his character and revolving to how the world works around him. Like when he gets back to the tavern, Maurice is there, and they're like, the town's like severely questioning him. Like, you tried to kill Maurice? And Gaston manipulated everything and stuff and manipulated, like, forced LeFou to change it and stuff. But in the animated, that was not the case. Gaston ruled the town and
Mm-hmm.
everyone had his side on it. Here, they actually brought it into question. Like, you tried to do this?
I'm not saying that the live action version of Gaston is like a better human. I think he's just better at hiding his
There's more
His
feelings.
intention.
there's more depth to his character,
And
which is Nice.
I applauded the actor. I think his name is like Luke Evans.
Yep.
Oh, right. He did a great job with playing Gaston. I just like he's so much more cutthroat in the live action one that it feels like if he did live, let's just say that like he fell and like I don't know, shattered his legs, he would be more trouble to everyone else around him than if he died.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because like even the three women that clearly are like,
Worship him.
Head over
yeah,
heels. Yeah.
he he wouldn't be a good guy to them either. So I've recently been watching The Great on Hulu. Because Hulu and Disney Plus have now merged together, so now I can watch all my Hulu things on Disney Plus, which is great. The Great goes over the Emperor and the Empress of Russia. Gaston is 100% like the attitude of the Emperor from Russia in The Great. Like he sees women as an object to essentially just have babies with and let the women do the women work.
Yeah. But that's always been Gaston's character too. Like you saw it first in the animated of, oh yeah, my little wife massaging my feet, give me six strapping boys. Like he's always been like very sexist towards women. Women are beneath him. They are to serve the house type deal.
Yeah, but also like
Like he wasn't that way so much in the live action, at least as outwardly in the live action. But he became so obsessed with wanting to marry Belle, specifically for her looks and everything. But looking at his character in the live action with how he saw himself, he was in a war and everything. This is pure speculation and not by any means of defense, but just things that also could be if we had more access to knowledge. I could see Gaston being attracted to Belle for how Belle challenged him. Because that was something that never happened. All the other women fell for Gaston, and he never was interested in them. Belle was not only different and more beautiful, even though beauty is subjective, but she constantly challenged him, and I think that's where but that difference gets shown in the through the Beast, where she challenged the Beast, and the Beast got humbled. She challenged Gaston, and Gaston got worse, which is how we're able to see more as to how the issues he has. He's kicking her and stuff, isn't he?
Sorry, baby's being active right now. And he's like deciding he's gonna kick all my major organs, and it's very uncomfortable. So I'm just swaying back and forth, just trying to like think Beauty and the Beast thoughts while he's thinking I'm gonna kill mom thoughts. We're
well,
diving.
well, do you want to go through our little rankings?
Sure.
yes.
So for this and hope potentially future live action versus animation, at the end we're gonna basically go through 4 categories
Oh,
and
wait,
see.
before we do, we haven't talked much about the soundtrack.
We have talked plenty about the soundtrack.
Okay, fine. I just was gonna say that I think that the songs they added to the live action Beauty and the Beast were actually really good.
Yes.
Yes. Um.
Okay, cool.
So we're gonna go through 4 categories, and basically we're gonna say which version did better through each 4 categories. The categories are gonna be songs.
Or soundtrack.
Yeah. Overall pacing of the movie, taking into account of length of the movie, overall plot line, so on.
If like the music stops the whole story, like in our Rise of Red episode.
Yes. Characters and acting, and then overall aesthetics of the movie. So starting with songs, which one did better?
Live action.
I feel like the live action one.
I have to give it to live action. If not purely for me, Evermore alone steals the live
All right,
action.
wait, hold up. Oh, I just realized.
I'll have a
Yeah.
counter on there.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
put a counter.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think the songs definitely go to the live action. Like they added more songs that add more depth to the movie, like like Days in the Sun, where it's like a lament for all the cast members, like the
How
cast and
does the
staff.
moment last forever? Makes me cry every single time.
That's such a sweet song. And then Evermore, oh, that Evermore steals my heart. I
Oh,
love that song.
so
It's like a
good.
perfect vocal range for me. Oh. So okay, so that one goes to live action.
Yes.
Pacing.
Animated.
Yeah, animated. Hold on. I got you.
I have to give it to animated too. Like a
It's quick and sweet. A child could watch through the whole thing
yeah,
and not get bored.
And I feel like some of the live action, like just parts were like just dragged out too long.
agreed. Like I wish the like the anime was a little bit longer, like
Yeah.
especially in the beginning. A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the live action may have added too much contact and drowned things out a little too long because that half an hour made a wild amount of difference.
Like the wolf scene, I just remember watching the live action and being like, okay. And they're fighting wolves? And they're fighting. How long does one fight wolves in this movie?
um, okay, so we're 1-1. Now, I was trying to think which one's the next one. Characters slash acting.
Here's the thing. I like different versions. Like I prefer the live action LeFou, and I think I prefer the live action Gaston, but I prefer like the animated Cogsworth and Lumiere more.
See, I'm looking at Belle and Beast. I like the live action Beast more, and I want to say I like the live action Belle more, except the scene where Beast is has like died and stuff. I love animated Belle more because, and that part of that comes from my knowledge of knowing that when they were originally filming the voice actors for the animated movie, they producers actually had to stop recording in the middle of that scene because Paige O'Hara, the person who voiced Belle, was so convincing they had to make sure that she was okay. They had to be like, oh crap, she's like, go check on her, go.
See, I watch the live action more frequently than I do the animated, but here's the reason why is because I don't want to watch funny all the time. I'm not a person who generally watches comedy movies. I prefer to watch things that are a little more intellectual and things that, you know, give a story and more background behind the story. But I will say I prefer the animated in terms to the acting of the characters themselves.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, I like the depth that the characters have in the live action. And like, there's a lot of depth to what's behind their thought process. Like again, in the animated, Gaston is very outwardly arrogant, sexist, like very outward. In the live action, it's a lot more subdued. There's a lot more layers to him. But I think for me, it's part of me wants to say animated gets the characters.
I think so too. I just feel like their vocal performances for the characters were stronger than the live action ones.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about like singing and stuff. I'm talking about like just like I feel like they the voice actors gave it their all and it really shows. And I'm not saying that the actors in the live action didn't, but it translated
It's
differently.
more cohesive though
Mhm.
in the animated. And
Agreed.
this is why I give it to the animated because when I look at some of the characters in the house in the live action, like especially the singer, I'm sorry, but she's just kind of like I really don't like her. I think she's one of the poor pieces of furniture in that house, and I wish there was less of her in the movie.
For who?
Uh, the singer, the opera
Oh,
singer.
yeah.
Yeah, I think she's one of the poorest furniture actresses. Um,
That and like looking about the other voices and
and in the
it's-
animated, it's just more cohesive.
yeah. Well, and looking at the actors, like Angela Lansbury voices Mrs. Potts, and she did amazing at that in the animated movie. And then you look at the live action, Emma Thompson did a great job. Don't get me wrong, but can't live up to Angela Lansbury. And then you have Obi-Wan voicing Lumiere.
We love Obi-Wan.
We love Obi-Wan, but it's not as the Lumiere's not as good as the animated Lumiere.
Like I'm saying, the cohesiveness.
Exactly. Like,
All right, so we got to give it to animated.
yep. And so the last one is overall aesthetic.
I'm gonna have to give it to the animated one.
Agreed.
Me too. Especially when it comes to Be Our Guest.
Yeah.
For me, I'm thinking about the prologue and the transformation scenes.
Oh, I'm thinking about like the overall set. Like I know that
Yeah.
the live action is more detailed, but I feel like if I were Belle, which castle would I rather be trapped in? I would rather be trapped in the cartoon one.
Well, for me, it's
The outside's scary looking, but the inside's a party.
Right?
Woo!
And that
Halloween
means,
party for days.
and that means when I'm looking at each of the characters, I'm like, oh, I actually like can make eye contact with you versus just like
well, we may need to like diversify this category a little bit because when I'm looking at like when I say the prologue and the transformation, I'm thinking of like again that prologue in the animated. As soon as you see it come on, it's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. The art that they did for that, and the transformation sequence is again much more powerful in the animated movie over how it looks between like all the light work in it and stuff like that. So I don't know how we want to diversify this aesthetic column.
I mean, but we've also like mentioned before, like the aesthetic of like the live action and how the CGI is just kind of shit.
I will have to give it to the costume designs. I think the costume designs are like much better in
Yeah.
this like in the live action movie than in the
Yeah.
like animated, but like
But in terms of like the whole story and the time period and everything else,
I feel like it's not as strong.
Agreed. Like, not to say that it was bad, but the animated did it better. And all like
not that it's supposed to be 100% realistic, it's not
no,
for the animated, but you know, for the animated, it works well.
it does. And like going through this process again, it's not any of these categories. Like the songs and Beauty in the animated aren't bad. Live action did it better. They
In
just
our humble opinion, you know,
yes,
just
our opinion. If you
just-
disagree with us, let us know. We like opinions. But with a score of 3-1,
Animated wins, but I still prefer to watch live action.
and I prefer to watch animation more.
and it depends on the day for me.
Yep.
See, and that's why that for me, most of the days I'm feeling live action because I don't really watch comedy things except
Mhm.
for the replays of Wizards of Waverly Place. But you know, I think
Who doesn't?
I was like, that's a little bit different. Like you get comical relief out of episodes, but like there's progression.
Mhm.
Wizards of Waverly Place will come another time. But you know, that generally that's just
Yeah. For me, it lies a lot more in nostalgia too. Like, and again, when I think about the parts of the movie that are most powerful to me, and especially on a sound moving where I get moved by a quality soundtrack so harshly, like animated lends itself more to that to me. But yeah, so that's our thoughts on the live action versus animated Beauty and the Beast.
subscribe, like, follow us on Patreon, TikTok, Instagram. Send us an email of your pets. If there's a spider, please let us know in the subject line that it is a spider for Megan. So that way me and Sean do not accidentally look at a spider.
That is a reference from The Lady and the Tramp, so which if you haven't seen, go check it out.
I like spiders. Show me all your insects, all your invertebrate, all the things that you're like,
But
That being said, bye, friends.
nice.